Hello, this is Lee James, and we have another lesson in jazz installment for you. We left off with playing All the Things You Are, our first introduction to applying the chords we've been working on to a song so that we can see how it actually fits and how it works. And All the Things You Are is perfect because it follows the circle of fourths, that we have been using up to this point as well. So you get that sheet, don't throw it out. We're going to be using it over and over and over for these exercises. As well as it's nicely paced, we have approximately one chord per measure, which gives you plenty of time to form the next chord as you move along. Using, of course, our famous application for metronome. I call him Mr. Gnome. We have to use it for all of our exercises, including this one, where we're starting to play songs and applying our chord knowledge. So last time we had All the Things You Are with just the formed chord. Now we're going to add the melody on top, which happens to be, for the most part, throughout this song, on the third of that chord. So we have our formed chord. I'll just play it softly here. There's our melody, octave higher. So we're adding it up at the top. As piano players, our melody is always the top note. All right? Even if it's down in this range, and we want to add a second to it, it's still on top. It's never underneath. So here we go. F minor 7 with the melody is the minor third on top. E flat minor 7, add the melody, play. And E flat 7, this is we could do either way. If we go down low like this, remember we have to get rid of our seventh tone because we've crossed the magic line at F. So we can only play a root and fifth in our left hand, but we have everything else in our right hand. There it is. And now we go to A flat. In D flat, we can go down here again, of course. Like E flat, if we go up here, we just have root, fifth, seventh, and the only thing we have in our right hand is our melody. There it is. That's where the melody goes. So that's the option if we play up here like this. And now we have G7, and the same with C. Our melody is that E above middle C. So instead of doing this, that's starting to sound dark and a little heavy, so I'd prefer to come up here like this. I found out also over the years, teaching this to my students, is when to go lower or upper. When we get too low in the octave down here, passing the magic line of F, F3, sometimes throws a curveball to the beginning player because they want to just do this. They want to just keep doing that back and forth, following the fourths. But as we do that, we start getting into that lower range. So it's, like I said, it's a little bit of a curveball to remember, oh, we got to form it, we got to jump up an octave, reform it, and now that looks different from when we started. We started in the right hand with 3, 7, and 1, and now suddenly we don't have that formation, we just have the third in our right hand, all right? And that kind of throws off the beginning player as he or she's trying to learn to form chords. So just be aware of that, be patient, and I will remind you, even though I'm not your teacher in your living room, that it's one of the things, as good as this song is as a teaching tool, we still have to make these kinds of adjustments as we're going through the circle, as we're going through the piece. Next, 8 bars. There it is. So sure enough, the major third, minor third, whatever, the dominant seventh, the third combination. The third is almost entirely the melodic, the melody of the song. And it's not all whole notes, of course. So this is what it is with the actual melody. And he throws in a little flat 9 there on the D7 chord. Okay, now we get into the next 8 measures. This is following the melody is a little more difficult because melody isn't strictly the third like we did on the first 16 measures, the first 2 A sections. So as we get into the B section, A minor 7. And then F sharp minor 7. There's E. And then actually, now we could add in the real melody, which is a holdover from E, the major third. And now this becomes a C7 with a raised fifth. We're getting into colored tones soon, but this is the one example we're going to get into. And when we do that, we have to get rid of our left hand fifth, because otherwise we'll have this. And nobody likes that interval, unless you want it on purpose. We don't want that on purpose. So when we alter our fifth, we've got to get rid of it in the left hand. So we're really left with just root, lowered seventh, major third, and the tied over melody, which happens to be the raised fifth. And now that same note becomes our melody note for the last A. And now we've got our upper tertian color tone series starting to come into play. D flat major 7, remember in the chord formation stage, we went down from major 7 down to minor 7. And now we had the melody. Well, the melody at this point is the ninth. Love minor ninth chords. There it is. Oh, another 9 chord. Dominant ninth chord. Not a dominant seventh, but dominant ninth. There's our melody there. Another ninth chord. In this case, it's E flat, not 7, but E flat 9, because that's where the melody is. And then finally, our resolution chord. Melody is the root, and that gives us a whole other ball of wax with which to chew on and melt with, because if we formed our major 7 in our left hand and we played the melody note, guess what we have? Minor ninth. So what do? We have a couple different options. We can play a straight triad, move our major 7th up to the root, or octave rather. And now we have our plain old vanilla church chord, A flat triad. All right. Well, we can do something a little more sophisticated sounding. Let me say that again, sophisticated sounding. And that is, again, we're going a little beyond our lessons for the day here. And that is we're going to form what's known as the A flat major 6. It's called the major 6 chord. We take our major 7th, lower it down 1 step on the A flat scale, and now we play our 6th with our 5th. And we have our major 3rd. We can do the same thing in the right hand. Play the 6th instead of the major 7th. And then there's our melody. Now we get this really kind of nice sounding chord. I think it's a little better sounding than this. There it is. And that's a rule we have to follow whenever our melody on a major chord is the root, is the tonic. We can't play the major 7th. It's another amateur mistake when you start playing and you want to make everything into major 7th chords. Well, sometimes that melody is the tonic of the chord, and you can't play the major 7th chord with it. It'll sound rotten. I mean, unless you're going to compose a Philip Glass piece or something like this, something esoteric, we do not want that tonality on the piano coming out. Sounds terrible with the vocalist, sounds terrible with the horns. That's another thing you have to listen to. If you're going to be a piano accompanying vocalist, or you're going to accompany yourself as a vocalist, you've got to yourself find out when the vocalist is winding up on a tonic and how you've got to instantly adjust. You can't play that. You've got to instantly adjust it. One of the very first vocalists I used to work with loved, she's a pop singer, loved ending up on the tonic, the big tonic note, you know. And I'm like, it was driving me nuts. I'm like, it doesn't end there all the time. Can you end on the 5th? Can you end on the major 7th? Can you end on the major 3rd? Something so that I can do more with the chords than just, or even which again is not a bad option, that major 6 chord. But I digress. So that's your next lesson for Lessons in Jazz, is to now add the melody. You might have an opportunity to find this, this chart. Ask a jazz piano or guitar friend of yours. They'll more than likely have it in a real book or fake book, maybe transcribed out. But I pretty much gave you everything in chords here and melody, so if you want to write them down yourself for your own notebook, that'd be great. Or, of course, you could buy the sheet music. Go to any number of sheet music sites and download it for a couple bucks, and then you've got it, and it's nicely typeset, and you'll have it for the rest of your life. So anyways, this ends this installment, where we move on to the second phase of utilizing all the things you are. Stay tuned, because we get more and more complicated with this, and we start to apply modes and ideas for improvising. You want to come back. This is Lee James, and until next time, keep practicing.